Let's be clear, your life is full of things that simply don't serve you, things that weigh you down, drain your energy, and keep you from moving forward. But have you ever asked yourself why you continue to carry them? Sometimes, the greatest act of rebellion isn't making noise or creating a spectacle, but quietly removing everything that holds you back. Relationships that drain you, let them go. Destructive habits, time to eliminate them. And no, you don't need to make a scene or wait for approval from anyone to do it. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to follow the advice of Stoic philosophy. Let go of what you can't control and free yourself. Life is too short to remain trapped in the expectations of others, too short to be buried under the weight of unnecessary things. I'm going to show you step by step how to remove those 10 things that are undoubtedly making your life chaotic, both physically and mentally, that are quietly destroying you. But here's the kicker. The last one is going to leave you speechless, and when you finally understand it, you'll realize you've been holding on to something you didn't even know was there. So, start today, quietly, no excuses, because at the end of the day, what you leave behind speaks louder than what you try to hold on to. Are you ready to start living for real? But before we dive in, let me share a story that will help you understand the wisdom behind this material. There's a remote village by the sea where a young fisherman named Thomas lived. Thomas was known for his ability to navigate the roughest waters and his impressive skill at fishing on the hardest days. However, over the years, Thomas had accumulated a massive collection of old nets and broken tools that he no longer used, but kept them out of habit. Every time he set out to sea, his small boat was weighed down by all the unnecessary objects he carried with him. One day, as he prepared for a long day at sea, a fierce storm suddenly broke out. Waves slammed against his boat, and Thomas realized that the excess gear he was carrying was making it nearly impossible for him to maneuver. For hours, he fought against the storm, but it wasn't just the waves that were his enemy. It was the unnecessary load he was carrying. On the verge of despair, Thomas made a hard but necessary decision. He began to discard everything that no longer served him. First, he threw the broken nets into the sea, then the old frayed ropes. Finally, he let go of personal items he had kept due to attachment, even though they had no purpose. With each item he let go, his boat became lighter, and he was able to navigate the storm with greater ease. The waves still came crashing down, but Thomas no longer felt weighed down by the past. Thanks to that action, he managed to stay afloat. When the storm subsided, Thomas returned to the harbor, exhausted but safe. His fellow fishermen asked him how he had survived the storm. Thomas, with a calm smile, replied, "There are times in life when we cling to things we don't need, objects, memories, or people that only add weight to our journey. Only when we decide to let go of the unnecessary, quietly and without drama, do we find the freedom to move forward more easily." The moral of the story. In life, there are many things we need to eliminate in silence in order to move forward. Sometimes the burden we carry stops us from navigating smoothly, and only by letting go can we discover our true path. Before we begin the first lesson, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed about future content that will guide you toward the life you deserve. Let's get started. 1. The need to always be right. Do you ever notice that compulsive need to always be right? That constant urge to prove you've got the answers, no matter the conversation? It's like a silent battlefield where you're fighting to hold your ground, to assert your knowledge, even when it doesn't matter. And let's be honest for a second. Does this really bring you peace? Does winning the argument give you fulfillment, or does it leave you feeling empty, tired, and a little less connected to the people around you? I've been there. You probably have too. Every time I felt that rush of needing to correct someone, to make sure they knew I was the expert, I realized something. I wasn't fighting to educate. I was fighting to prove something to myself. I was clinging to the idea that my value was somehow tied to always having the last word. But here's the truth. It's a trap, a silent, sneaky one. Because what does being right even mean if it costs you your inner peace, your relationships, and even your own sense of self-worth? There's no room for growth in that space. Instead of engaging in healthy conversation, we create friction. And for what? To be right? To keep that invisible scoreboard ticking in our favor. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers, had it figured out. They taught us that wisdom doesn't come from proving our knowledge to others. It comes from knowing when to step back, to listen, to understand. It's about embracing humility and realizing that sometimes not having the last word is a victory in itself. What if the next time you're in a heated debate, you paused, took a breath, and let the other person finish without the immediate urge to correct them? What if you chose silence instead of argument? It's not about resigning to ignorance. It's about realizing that true wisdom lies in knowing when to let go. When you let go of that obsession to always be right, you make space for connection, for understanding, for peace. So, what's the first step? It's simple. The next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to jump in and correct. Instead, listen. Not to rebut, but to understand. Accept that being right isn't the ultimate prize. Peace of mind, however, is. Let go of the need to be the authority in every conversation. When you do, you'll find yourself lighter, freer, more at peace. And when you feel that weight lift, you'll realize how much you've been holding on to. It's all about quieting the internal noise and finding true freedom in silence. 2. Toxic relationships. Let me ask you something. How many relationships in your life drain you, yet you continue to keep them around? People who suck the energy right out of you, leave you feeling empty, exhausted, or worse, questioning your worth. These are the toxic relationships that we all know too well, and yet we hold on to them. Maybe it's family, maybe it's a close friend, or perhaps it's that person you've been trying to fix for years. Whatever it is, you keep them in your life as if they're somehow necessary. But let me tell you something. No one has the right to take your peace. No one. Not a family member, not a friend, not a colleague. You might think you're being compassionate by tolerating these relationships, but you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not being kind to yourself by allowing people who bring nothing but negativity into your space. The Stoics would tell us to focus only on what we can control, and we can control who we allow into our lives. You can't control someone else's behavior, but you can control whether or not you continue to allow them to drain your energy. That's the power you have. And if they don't bring positivity or growth into your life, then it's time to let them go. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that cutting ties with someone is cruel. We tell ourselves that it's our responsibility to fix things, to be the bigger person. But here's the thing. Letting go of people who weigh you down is an act of self-respect, not cruelty. It's about choosing peace, choosing your own mental and emotional well-being over the fear of disappointing someone else. The real power lies in doing this quietly. You don't need to make a public announcement or explain yourself to anyone. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is remove someone from your life in silence. Stop answering their calls, stop engaging in their drama, stop allowing their negativity to invade your space. Gradually, you'll find yourself lighter, freer, more at peace. You'll be amazed at how much more energy and space you have when you let go of those toxic relationships. And you'll start to realize that in doing so, you're making room for people who are worthy of your time and energy. People who uplift you, support you, and help you grow. That's who deserves your attention, not the ones who constantly drag you down. 3. Negative thought patterns. You know those thoughts that creep into your mind, uninvited, and suddenly everything seems bleak? That's the power of negative thought patterns. They enter quietly, almost like a whisper, and before you know it, they've hijacked your entire mindset. You find yourself caught in a cycle of, "Why does this always happen to me?" or "I'm never going to make it." And the more you entertain them, the stronger they get, until they start controlling your actions and decisions. But what if I told you these thoughts are not the truth? They're just thoughts. They don't define you unless you choose to give them power. The Stoics knew this. They taught us that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. That's where the power lies. And the first step in breaking these negative cycles is recognizing them for what they are: fleeting and unnecessary. When a negative thought arises, you don't have to react to it. You don't have to let it dictate your emotions. The key is in the silence. Recognize the thought, acknowledge it, and then let it pass. Don't feed it, don't entertain it. Just let it go, quietly and without drama. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. And here's something powerful. When you stop feeding negative thoughts, you create space for new, positive ones to enter. You start to realize that you have the power to choose your mindset. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," you can replace it with, "I am capable of growth and learning." Instead of, "I'll never succeed," try, "I'm on the path to success," and setbacks are part of the journey. This isn't some quick fix or a magic cure, but a practice. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And one day, you'll look back and realize that you've silenced those destructive patterns, not by fighting them, but by simply not giving them the attention they crave. That's how you reclaim your power, by giving no space to thoughts that don't serve you. 4. The need for control. Do you ever feel like if you're not controlling every single aspect of your life, everything will fall apart? Like if you don't manage every detail, chaos will consume you? We've all been there. We try to micromanage the circumstances around us, control people's actions, even control outcomes. And yet, no matter how hard we try, life has a way of slipping through our fingers. Here's the truth. Trying to control everything is like trying to hold the ocean in your hands. It's impossible. The Stoics taught us that we can only control what's within our power, our actions, our responses, and our mindset. Everything else is out of our hands. Trying to control the uncontrollable only drains your energy and peace. Let go of the need to control it all. Accept that you can't dictate how everything unfolds, but you can control how you react to it. Instead of obsessing over every detail, focus on what you can do in the present moment. Embrace uncertainty, because it's in the unknown that growth and opportunity live. When you let go of that obsessive need for control, you'll find yourself with more mental and emotional space to handle what truly matters. In silence, release the idea that you must be the one holding the reins of every situation. By doing this, you free yourself from the weight of expectation, from the pressure of perfection, and from the constant anxiety of feeling like you need to control everything around you. 5. Unrealistic expectations. Have you ever set such high expectations for yourself only to feel completely defeated when you couldn't meet them? It's almost as if we create impossible standards that, when we don't reach them, leave us with nothing but disappointment. We try to fit a mold that doesn't suit us, chasing after goals that might not even align with who we truly are. We push ourselves to be perfect in everything we do: work, relationships, health, social life. And when we inevitably fall short, we end up feeling like failures. It's time to let go of those unrealistic expectations. The Stoics taught us that the key to peace isn't about doing everything perfectly or meeting every demand placed on us by others. It's about understanding our limits and accepting that perfection is an illusion. Striving for it only leads to exhaustion and frustration. Instead, try this. Release the pressure. Stop measuring your worth based on how much you can do or how well you can do it. Rather than setting yourself up for failure with unattainable goals, focus on doing the best you can with what you have. Real progress comes from small, consistent actions, not from perfection. Accepting yourself as you are, with all your flaws, is a powerful way to live. When you stop comparing yourself to others and let go of the need to be flawless, you'll discover something powerful: freedom. You can move forward without the weight of an unattainable standard. Instead of trying to meet the impossible, focus on living in a way that aligns with your true self. Give yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. That's where growth happens. Embrace the journey, not the destination. 6. Digital noise. In the modern world, we're constantly surrounded by noise, not just the sound of cars passing by or the chatter of people, but the relentless digital noise. Social media notifications, emails, texts, news alerts, they all demand our attention, filling our minds with distractions. And we tell ourselves that we're in control, but if we're honest, it's the digital world that controls us. The Stoics understood that peace comes from within, and true peace requires eliminating distractions. So, how do you find that peace in a world that's constantly trying to pull you in every direction? You start by silencing the digital noise. Take a step back and ask yourself, how much of what I'm consuming is actually enriching my life, and how much of it is just noise? The first step is to consciously disconnect. Turn off notifications. Limit your time on social media. Unfollow accounts that don't add value to your life. Let go of the constant need to be plugged in. In fact, treat your time online as sacred. Choose when and how you engage, instead of being constantly reactive. When you do this, you'll start to notice the difference. Your mind won't be cluttered by irrelevant information. You'll be able to focus on what truly matters, the real moments, the real connections. By embracing silence and giving yourself the space to think and reflect without digital interruptions, you reclaim your peace. Silence is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Embrace it. 7. Clinging to the past. There's a tendency we all have to hold on to the past. Whether it's a past relationship, a missed opportunity, or an old version of ourselves, we cling to what was, often to the detriment of what is. We become trapped in nostalgia, haunted by what could have been, and unable to embrace the present. But here's the thing: holding on to the past doesn't change it. It only weighs you down. The Stoics believed that the present moment is all we truly have. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. So, why spend your energy on something that no longer exists? You can't change the past, but you can change how it affects you. You can choose to let go of the weight of old memories, old pain, old regrets, and free yourself to move forward. Start by acknowledging that the past no longer serves you. Yes, it shaped who you are today, but it doesn't define you. Don't allow past mistakes, hurts, or unfulfilled dreams to control your life. Instead, focus on the lessons learned and use them to shape the person you are becoming. Let go of the emotional baggage you've been carrying around for too long. By releasing the past in silence, you allow yourself the freedom to embrace the present and the future. Every day is a new opportunity, and every moment is a chance to create something better. Free yourself from the past, and you'll find that the future holds endless possibilities. 8. Negative people. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to suck the life out of you? They're always negative, always complaining, always focused on the problems rather than the solutions. And no matter how hard you try to stay positive, they drag you down into their emotional pit. These people are toxic, and yet we often find ourselves staying in these draining relationships. The truth is, you don't have to keep these people in your life. You have the power to choose who you surround yourself with, and if someone's negativity is affecting your peace of mind, it's time to let them go. The Stoics teach us that we should focus on things we can control, and we can certainly control who we allow into our inner circle. It doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation. You don't have to make a big scene. Simply start distancing yourself, reduce contact, stop engaging in negative conversations, and protect your energy. It's not cruel, it's self-care. When you eliminate negativity from your life, you make space for more positive, uplifting people to enter. You allow yourself to thrive without constantly battling the weight of someone else's emotional baggage. Remember, you don't have to please everyone. Your peace and happiness are more important than anyone else's approval. By removing toxic people in silence, you preserve your well-being and make room for relationships that nurture and support you. 9. The fear of missing out, FOMO. In today's digital age, FOMO is everywhere. Social media bombards us with images of people living their best lives, and we can't help but feel like we're missing out. We're constantly chasing after the next big thing, trying to keep up with trends, events, and what everyone else is doing. But here's the thing, it's all an illusion. The fear of missing out is a mental trap. It convinces you that you're not enough, that you're somehow failing because you're not part of the latest experience or trend. But when you step back and really think about it, is this fear helping you live a better life? Or is it simply draining your energy, distracting you from what really matters? The Stoics would say that true fulfillment comes from within, not from external validation or the fear of being left behind. The solution? Silence the noise. Stop comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reel. Focus on what truly brings you joy and fulfillment, not what others are doing. By letting go of the fear of missing out, you free yourself to live authentically. You stop chasing things for the sake of appearances and start investing your time and energy into what genuinely makes you happy. It's liberating, really. You'll discover that what truly matters is not being everywhere, but being present in your own life. 10. The clutter of life. How often do you find yourself surrounded by clutter, both physical and mental? Clutter that distracts you, drains your energy, and keeps you from focusing on what truly matters. It could be piles of paperwork you don't need, clothes that don't fit, or unresolved thoughts that weigh heavy on your mind. All of these things, no matter how small, create chaos in your life. The Stoics believed in living simply, focusing on what's essential and eliminating the unnecessary. They knew that external clutter often reflects internal chaos, and the more we accumulate, whether it's things, tasks, or thoughts, the harder it becomes to find clarity. Start by eliminating the clutter in your life, little by little. Don't try to tackle everything at once. Begin by clearing out one small area. Maybe it's your desk, your closet, or your mind. As you start to simplify, you'll notice how much more focused and peaceful you become. The weight of clutter, both physical and mental, lifts, and you find yourself more at ease. By eliminating what no longer serves you, you create room for what truly matters. You focus your energy on the things that align with your values and bring you closer to the person you want to become. The process isn't about perfection, it's about progress. As you clear away the excess, you'll find more space for peace, joy, and clarity. 11. The need for validation from others. How many times have you found yourself seeking approval from others? Whether it's a like on social media, a compliment from a colleague, or validation from your family and friends, this constant need for approval can hold you hostage. It's easy to get caught up in the cycle of looking outward for reassurance. But here's a harsh truth. The more you rely on others to define your worth, the less control you have over your own life. The Stoics teach us the importance of building self-worth from within. They understood that seeking validation from others is not only futile, but a dangerous game. Because no matter how much approval you get, it will never be enough. The external world is unpredictable, and if you hinge your happiness on other people's opinions, you'll always feel like you're chasing something just out of reach. The solution? Start validating yourself. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you're good enough, capable enough, or deserving enough. Trust your own judgment. Take pride in your actions, regardless of how others perceive them. The more you rely on your own inner compass, the less you'll need the validation of others. This doesn't mean you should isolate yourself or cut off healthy connections. It's about not letting anyone's opinion define your self-worth. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-respect, and that starts with rejecting the need for constant external validation. By doing so, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of seeking approval and empower yourself to live authentically. 12. The need to control everything. Do you find yourself constantly trying to control everything around you? Your work, your relationships, your environment, all meticulously organized and planned, as though if you just get it all in line, everything will fall into place. The problem with this is that life isn't that simple. Control is an illusion, and the more you try to cling to it, the more you end up suffocating yourself. The Stoics recognize that there are things we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Everything else? It's beyond our reach. Trying to control what's outside of our influence only creates frustration, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness. When things don't go as planned, we feel like we've failed, but in reality, it's our attachment to control that's the problem. So, what if we started to let go of the need to control everything? What if we accepted that life is unpredictable, and sometimes the best course of action is to allow things to unfold without interference? It doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or becoming passive. It means learning to focus on what truly matters and letting go of the rest. This is where Stoicism really shines. The key is to focus on what you can control: your actions, your mindset, and your decisions, and to let go of the need to micromanage every outcome. Stop sweating the small stuff and instead embrace the flow of life. When you let go of control, you'll find that things often work out in ways you never expected.